Now, ExpressVPN is very well known for it when it comes to reliability and consistency in essentially everything it does, but it's still lacking in terms of customizability. And so in today's video, I'll look into that, as well as everything else from performance to security to what it's like to use on the daily in order to help you figure out whether or not this VPN could be a proper choice for you and your situation. And if at any point you'd like to go straight to pricing or discounts, you'll find the latest coupon codes down below to help you save a little bit more money. All right, so starting with the privacy policy. Now, when it comes to privacy, it's very well known at this point how much Express values the anonymity of their users, and that could not have been demonstrated any better than in the real-life stress test where the Turkish government seized an ExpressVPN server as part of an investigation, but were not able to extract any information out of the servers thanks to Express not having stored any information on their servers in the first place, which is also attributed to their trusted server technology, which are basically servers that run on RAM disk drives rather than physical hard drives, which means that there are simply no physical drives for information to be stored in, and any minimal information stored by the RAM is erased with every machine reboot. Now, regarding the ownership ExpressVPN, it was acquired by Kape Technologies as of late 2021, the same company that owns CyberGhost, Private Internet Access, and ZenMate. Since the acquisition, very little has changed in the day-to-day operation of ExpressVPN, and that also extends to the privacy policy of ExpressVPN, which is great to hear. In fact, at the end of 2022 alone, Express conducted 5 independent audit reports to examine their desktop and mobile apps, verifying their no-logs policy and making sure that there are no vulnerabilities in their systems, which is rare to see in the VPN industry unless the provider is absolutely confident about their service. So when you see a company conducting as many audits as ExpressVPN and as often as ExpressVPN, you know that this is a good sign that indicates that you can trust this company much more than any unaudited company. Now, in September 2021, ExpressVPN got caught up in a controversy involving ExpressVPN's chief information officer, who was once hired by the US and UAE intelligence services in cyber spy operations. He also worked on the controversial Project Raven, which ExpressVPN has publicly condemned. But besides ExpressVPN's condemnation of Project Raven, Express did explain how Daniel's expertise and ability to understand adversaries helped the ExpressVPN team properly assess risks and prevent threats, and how Daniel's understanding of offense helped Express build a better defense. So with the efforts and dedication of ExpressVPN to constantly conduct independent audits and publicly show the reports, it really shows the unprecedented levels of transparency that ExpressVPN is willing to reach in order to preserve the trust of their users. So overall, it's safe to say that ExpressVPN still holds up with regards to upholding the integrity of their no-logs policy and protecting the privacy of their users. Now, in terms of speed, keep in mind that speed tests will vary depending on various factors like your own connection speed, server load, and the distance between you and the server you're connecting to, as well as the protocol you're using. And if you didn't know, when you connect to a VPN, naturally your speed will drop since you're connecting to a server that's essentially much farther than your ISP's servers. So generally speaking, drops in between 10 and 20% are considered to be excellent for a VPN, and anything between 20 to 30 or even 40% is still quite good actually. Granted, your base speed is fast enough to handle a 40% drop. Now, during my tests, I noticed that my speed drops remained within the 10 to 25% range, which is excellent. So when it comes to speed, ExpressVPN will keep the speed drops to a minimum and as close to your base speed as possible. I would just recommend that you use the best performing protocol, and that'll be the lightweight UDP protocol for the best results. And for the best performance on Windows, I really recommend downloading the lightweight optimized version of ExpressVPN if you want maximum speed and latency and instantaneous connection. Though keep in mind that this version of ExpressVPN will not have the speed tester, so if you don't mind giving up that feature on your Windows app, then by all means download this version. I personally use it because it dramatically lessens the time it takes to connect to the servers, speeding up the time to connect from around 5 seconds to less than a second. So with regards to speed, Express does very well. Just keep one thing in mind, which is the closer the VPN server to your physical location, the faster the speed. Though with the quality of the servers of ExpressVPN, even those that are much farther away will still give you impressive impressive speeds. Now, for streaming, Express is simply excellent. The level of consistency in accessing streaming services is very high. Express can access many streaming services including HBO Max, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, many Netflix libraries, and much more. For torrenting, Express also fully supports peer-to-peer activity without any restrictions on speed or bandwidth, and that support extends across all servers.
Though you might want to make note of Express not supporting port forwarding if that's something you really need.
But port forwarding isn't something that's typically necessary when downloading. It's more needed for file sharing and seeding, so you can ultimately still download to your heart's content. As for you gamers out there, I can relate. You'll be glad to know that Express is also able to give you a really low ping. Your ping will be as close to your base ping as it can be, and in most instances, exactly the same. But here's a pro tip. If you connect to a server that's closer to your game server, you are much more likely to get an even better ping than the usual. So be sure to try this out the next time you're using a VPN when gaming. Now, for security, by default, Express uses the military-grade encryption, which is the 256-bit encryption. In other words, you can rest assured nobody will be able to intercept your connection. And in terms of protocols, you get a few options, but from my experience, lightweight UDP is the fastest protocol, so it's definitely what I'd recommend most of you use. But leaving it on automatic is also a viable option if you don't want to mess with the protocol options ever again. Now, Express isn't exactly loaded with advanced features. It was made with the average user in mind, but it was also made very secure and consistent enough to attract the advanced user. It has a reliable and properly functional kill switch, which basically severs your internet connection when the VPN disconnects unexpectedly. Essentially, it makes sure that you're only going to be connected to the internet if you're secured by the VPN, otherwise you just get disconnected. You also get a very easy to use split tunneling feature to allow you to choose which applications bypass the VPN connection, or the other way around by having only selected applications use the VPN connection while leaving the rest of the network outside the VPN tunnel. And while the kill switch is also available for Mac, the split tunneling unfortunately will not be available on iOS, and you will also not get it on macOS 11 and above. Now, other great security features include the usual DNS, WebRTC, and IPv6 leak protection, so naturally when I tested for leaks, there were no leaks or data to link to my real location. And by default, ExpressVPN also uses perfect forward secrecy, which adds another layer of protection by automatically creating a new encryption key for every session, and then replacing it every 60 minutes. In simple terms, this means that even if someone was able to intercept and decrypt your VPN connection, the most they would be able to get is 60 minutes of data. And this is also backed up by the previously mentioned RAM disk servers, or trusted server technology as Express calls it, which promotes the highest levels of privacy and the lowest risk of data collection. Now, as for obfuscation, unlike most other VPNs, there's no toggle to turn obfuscation on and off, as it is always on by default. And according to the live chat support, it really doesn't matter which protocol you choose, your traffic will be obfuscated regardless. And if you're not familiar with what obfuscation means, it's basically the technology that helps you bypass censorship firewalls, such as the Great Firewall of China. And speaking of China, ExpressVPN is one of the only VPNs that still works in China very reliably, despite the country's blocks on VPN traffic. And since ExpressVPN still has Hong Kong servers, you'll be able to access Chinese TV and websites as if you're in China yourself. And if you're in China, the obfuscation will basically make your data look like any normal browsing data, meaning that the Great Firewall of China won't be able to identify your VPN traffic. And the same goes for all the other restrictive countries like the UAE or Turkey.
Regarding servers, ExpressVPN operates more than 3,000 servers in 105 countries.
Express also works on almost every modern smart device that you can think of, including Android, Apple, iOS, Linux, macOS, smart TVs, Roku, and you've got browser extensions that are available as well. And as for simultaneous connections, you'll be able to secure up to 5 devices at a time per subscription. Now, I know it's obvious, but I also think it's worth mentioning how clean and bug-free the user interface of ExpressVPN is. It's nothing too fancy or attractive, it's just very simple, easy to read, and easy to operate. As if Express is not exactly trying to impress you with looks and interface and whatnot, but rather with simple, high performance, reliability, and consistency. And so to conclude, honestly, there's not much to complain about ExpressVPN. It's as every bit as consistent, practical and easy to use. I suppose my only nitpick would be the lack of customization, and there's also still no dark mode available. And I would say the fact that it doesn't have any longer term plans that reduce the price even more besides the yearly plan might be a little bit of an ick for some users. But for others, it might be great since they don't have to commit to more than a year to get a good discount, so it really depends on how you see it. But besides that, if you're looking for the best VPN, whether for torrenting, streaming, accessing geo-restrictions, or to stay private online, ExpressVPN continues to be the way to go. And if you're interested in giving Express a try, I'll leave an exclusive discount down below, so feel free to use it to save a little more money on your subscription. So that'll be it for this review. If you enjoyed or learned something new, consider liking the video and subscribe to stay up to date with everything VPN related, and let me know what feature you'd like to see in Express. I know I'm still waiting for the dark mode on Windows. I don't know why it's not there yet. Is there anything that you think Express is missing? And don't hesitate to drop your questions in the comments as well. But besides that, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one and have a wonderful day.